Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the One Down podcast. I am Nathan McCallum. I am the host of One Up Big Brother, and I'm here alongside my co-hosts, Panino and Soul, as we discuss a full year of One Up Big Brother as we prepare for Season 4 Mythos, just premiering in 3 days. So, 3 seasons so far. We've had a total of about 63 house guests. There have been betrayals, blindsides, heroes, and villains that have all been built. And tonight we are looking back at the history of One Up Big Brother before entering one of our most ambitious seasons yet. We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to yap, knowing all of us. But we'll discuss a lot of who are the greatest players who've played so far. What are the moments that define the series? How has this game evolved in just a year? But I think it's important to note how this podcast came to be. But first and foremost, I want to have Panino and Soul have a moment to shine. What are your roles on production? What do we do? You know, how did you begin with? Why are you this two?
For those that don't know me, I'm Panino. I am one of the only production member who has never played in One Up. I've always been a production member since season 1. Because me and Nathan go way back. He's always referred himself as my org father, and I wouldn't be where I am in the org community without his help. Role on production, I help around with the wiki, amazing wiki that is done by Peyton as well. I take second place on that. I also help a lot in casting, and just, quality of life.
And for those who don't know me, I'm Soul. I was the runner-up of season 1. I got lots of awards: villain of the season, best strategist, best social player. So I really kind of made my mark on that first season, and I joined production shortly after. I'm a co-host right now. And as far as my role on production, I kind of do a little bit of everything. I help with planning competitions, planning twists, trying to just keeping everything organized. And I also do power rankings. I did a lot of that in season 2, lots of write-ups. That was a lot of work, but I still do power rankings now, but not as much with the write-ups because lots of work, not as free, but I do what I can. And I also do all the pages on the wiki. I write like the game recaps. Pino and Peyton, they do everything to put the wiki together, but I did like the writing on it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I One Up, and I'm excited to go down memory lane here.
Yeah. So what is the One Down podcast? How did this come to be? Short story, this was a concept that was idealized back in season 3, made by 3 of our alumni of Synthwave season 2, Alicia, Onyx, and Isaac. I love the concept of it. I think the idea of it was great. When I saw they only did 1 episode, I saw potential for me to build it into something that could be something really cool. I've always loved doing cast assessments in all of my seasons I've done before. And I felt like it was a better way for me to yap alongside other people, get another take. And then it came to be. I messaged Alicia and I was like, hey, I would love to buy out the rights to this and make it into something really cool. And she's like, oh yeah, just take it. I was like, cool, easy. And so now we have the One Down podcast. But basically, the One Down podcast, its main role is for, during a season, we get to talk about the cast more in depth, maybe a little bit less formal than it was in the past, where it's like, this person is doing this, get this tier, this is how they are, and just talk like humans, being like, this is how we genuinely feel about this player in this moment right now. I never shied away from that in my cast assessments. In fact, I got a lot of slack for it because I might have been a little bit too honest. But you know what? I think that's what it is. Like I say as a host, it's never out of just genuine hate. I want to see everyone who plays this game learn, grow, do whatever they need to. And that's always been kind of my thing. I'm a very blunt host. I'm a very, when it comes to these things, like the cast assessments especially. But it's because I've been in this community for long enough to be like, I know what it takes for this person to do genuinely well. And I want to see that for them some way or another. So I might be mean, I might be harsh. I'm kind of like the Simon Cowell of the hosting team. It feels like, but again, it really does come from a place of love, and you'll know if I'm going really hard on you, probably means I really respect you as well, and I see potential. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of like weekly breakdowns of the game, a lot of the discussions in terms of strategies with different house guests, and so on and so forth. A lot of good coverage coming your way for season 4. But I think it's important to note the origins of One Up Big Brother, because, you know, what I just realized like a couple days ago is that we've reached our 1 year from the day that I conceptualized it. So, you know, I was talking to Sol about this for forever. I felt like on the call yesterday. Mind you, I was very intoxicated, so time got away from me, but I was just like yapping about, oh, what happened? How did One Up Big Brother happen? The short story was like, and I explained it a little bit. I was going into the military at the time, and I wanted to get like one last hurrah of a lot of these things I did in my childhood, one last go before I did that, and was kind of like cut away from a lot of these things. The org community has always been a place for me ever since I was 13 years old, where I kind of grew up in this community and played these games, met all these people, and learned so much about so many different people from so many different walks of lives and things and people who I'd probably never meet ever in the real world, especially in my little bubble that I grew up in. I got to meet and like see, you know, I didn't know what non-binary was before playing this community. Isn't that freaking crazy? Like, it's these little things, like these things that exist outside of your little microcosm that you might have grown up in. You get to kind of see this wide array. Needless to say, you know, I wanted to go back because I hosted for a couple years back in 2020 to 2021. I initially started hosting with a series called 2020 Vision, which I canceled. That became an ongoing thing, I guess, later in my career. But initially, it's what kind of catapulted me into creating a series called Big Brother Universe back in 2020, which became the biggest Big Brother Discord game at that current time. I always wanted to host. I always wanted to take my shot at it because I thought, like, you know, there's so much more creative freedom there is within hosting itself. And I got all of that in a really short frame. Left the community for 4 years. I came back into it after kind of being like, I want to do one last season to host for fun. And I saw the community in its current state, and I said, I need to bring this back. I saw there was a very clear discrepancy in quality, production value, to be very blunt, in some of the orgs and Big Brother orgs in particular that I was witnessing. And I thought it was shameful. I was like, I put so much heart, passion, and energy into like this game to grow it to what it became, like Big Brother Universe, and to see it like being like, this is what the standard is these days. Oh God, no. I was like, I got to come back and we'll do one season before I go and enlist and do whatever, just to show these people like I can do a good time. And yeah, now we're 4 seasons in. I didn't go to the military, got a big boy job. It's crazy, other like sidetrack of a story, but here we are. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, like Panino, like obviously like we hadn't caught up with each other for about 4 years after Legacy Big Brother, which was supposed to be my last hurrah. So I don't know how long you have been kind of in the hosting world. I'd love to hear kind of like your notes, how you came to do that.
Well, I think my hosting started shortly after I joined the community back in late 2019. I think that the quarantine helped a lot with giving me a lot of time to be like, oh, what's Discord? What is this platform that I've never heard of? Mind you, I was 13 at the time. I just started high school. So it was me trying to find a way to connect with people that didn't only speak Italian. So I got into the org community a while after, started hosting my own little tiny formats, a Big Brother there, a Survivor there. Then I got in touch with an amazing person called Locke. We did 5 seasons of a Survivor. After that, I did take a year break. I think, to be honest, the Big Brother Universe helped with that. on account of me getting first boot 2 orgs in a row. And at a 14-year-old, that didn't help. But I found joy in hosting. So after Lockviver, I was production on Xorgs. And then more recently, back in 2023, I started being a production member for Chaotic Reality, biggest custom format in the community. We say hi to them. Hello, VC. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them as well. As I've told many people, I refer to Nathan as my old org father. I refer to VC, the host of CR, my new org father. So again, I've recognized that my place here in hosting with everything that I've hosted, especially now that I'm not only hosting CR in this, I'm hosting a bunch of other orgs at the same time. I think I really wouldn't be here thanks to VC and Nathan, because it's just amazing people that I met at a time where I was like, I don't know what I am, what I want to do with my life. And they've also just they've helped me grow up both in the org community but also as a human.
Yeah, I've been in the org community specifically since like 2019, but I got into the whole community because I just like reality TV. I like Survivor, I like Big Brother, like playing it online. I've been playing online on Roblox since probably 2016, 2015. I don't know. It's been a long time, like probably close to 10 years. But, I eventually found Discord orgs, and it was a way to challenge me and my fandom, I guess, to see if I could do what I like seeing people do on TV. And then that eventually evolved into me hosting, starting in I think it was January of 2021. It might have been 2020. I'm not 100% sure, but it's been about 5-6 years. And I hosted pretty much all on my own with very little help for 27 seasons. And then finally, around the time I stopped, after I stopped, I played season 1 here, and then Nathan invited me onto production. And so it's been a much better experience because it's not all on my back now. I get to have fun hosting, but not feel the full responsibility. I still have responsibility and I still take it very seriously, but it's not all make or break on me. So it's been a great time hosting, and I look forward to making this season good and future seasons good.
Oh yeah. Love that. I was going to banter, but I completely forget what I was going to banter about. I wanted to have you have your time. But I think as we celebrate a year of One Up Big Brother kind of being conceptualized, I think even Soul, you getting to know the in-depths of how season 1 came to be, because we're going to talk about season 1 first, the foundation of this series. So One Up Big Brother in itself, it was just kind of a shit shoot, kind of being oh, I'm going to create this graphic of maybe I'll host again. We'll see, whatever, but One Up Big Brother, it was never intended to be a gaming kind of themed series. It was starting with One Up Big Brother, one up your Big Brother experience. How can you make, if you've played in Big Brother orgs before, how can we one up that? So that was how One Up Big Brother came to be. And then it just kind of fell into this line of oh, you can level up your game, because I always have believed in kind of twists that are whatever player you are, whatever player you want to play as, you go out and do that, whether it's kind of being really aggressive or being a little bit more in the shadows. It was the last twist I did within Big Brother Universe, which got canceled, Big Brother Universe 8, Equinox. Whereas if you play chill, you get rewarded. If you play more aggressive and more competition-wise, you get rewarded. It was kind of that theme. And that was kind of the theme of how Level Up came to be, whereas you can either game or grind. You're either going to game, win power, immediately be a little bit more in the forefront, or grind and kind of be in the shadows, but still kind of playing your own game. So it was a rendition of that, which never really got to come to a full circle because it got canceled. And so that's how, but One Up Big Brother season 1 was a bitch to, I was going to give up on it for the longest time. I had waited a long time and we were not getting applicants at all. Every applicant that we had received had been from me recruiting. And, it had been like a month in, and I think we had like 8. And I'm like, maybe this isn't meant to be, maybe it was a good idea, and then it wasn't within like the last 2 weeks of applications being open where we started seeing a little bit more of a surgence of people who were interested. I was like, okay, wait, this is kind of fun. And then it just kind of all came into motion. At that time, it was me, Panino, and Mario. Rest in peace, Mario. If you're out there watching this at any point,
we miss you.
Well, maybe one of us.
I do. I miss you, Mario.
Yeah, that's the one. The one is Soul.
I love Mario Down. No matter what they did in season 3 when they gave their best shot, we still talk on the occasion. But yeah, that's what it came to be. It was just kind of like, the bits and pieces of season 1 are very obscure to me because we ran so many seasons back to back to back. Like when we come down to season 1, like it gets really murky. Like I remember it was the second day. It was like the first head of household competition. I was on a date with my boyfriend who, we're still together now. It was the first date. And I like had to tell him, I was just like, hey, I gotta like get, like I'm in this game. I host this thing. This is really nerdy, really awkward, but I have to post their HOH competition. And he's like, no, I think that's actually really cool. I want to learn more about it. Let me see like who's playing and doing whatever. I was like, okay, that's how I know you're the one. And but it was really funny. Like that's like the one core memory I have of season 1, at least in terms of like where it came to be. But I don't know, the origin of that season was always like the hardest because it was the one I was about to give up on, and then it turned out to be one of my favorite seasons I've ever hosted ever. I think it was such a fun cast, so much dynamic stuff that was going on, and I might have looked on it with a little bit more bias because I was just so excited to host again, whereas like any sort of thing was going to fulfill me at that point. But it was really a good season, and I think I look back on that now and I'm like, wow, what a fun time, experienced it firsthand. So
yeah, like I think both the players, especially both the players, but also us, because at the time I was truly in a position where I'm like, I was already deep in hosting with CR, and I was like, I had hosted in other things when I was in CR. I truly couldn't find something that satisfied me anymore. Because I think I got spoiled from the level of quality that CR gives us on the daily.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wake up late February last year from a DM from Nathan, who for me fell off the face of the earth. I was like, where the hell has he gone to? Finally get a DM being like, I'm hosting. What? And I initially thought to play in that season, but then quickly remembered I am quotation marks retired, and told myself I'd love to host this time around because Nathan's always hosted me. This time I want to host Nathan. I'll host with Nathan, and also I did host Nathan in CR, but I really Nathan has amazing memories from that one, which means he doesn't remember anything from that season. But I also think that with the level of twists that we came up with the cast, that in the end we managed to make, I don't know how we did it, but we did it, a cast of old faces from me and Nathan's community back in the early 2020s, new faces, new people. I think it was just truly an amazing game with people who really wanted to play, who utilized the twists to the fullest extent, especially the game and grind twist, which when I was making it with Nathan, I thought mainly, are people going to go for the grind? Are we going to get someone who does get to max level? We did. It happened during one of the most amazing rounds of the game. It happened during a live round. It was just all 18 of those people. So this is me glazing up the entire season 1 cast. You're welcome, Soul. All 18 of those people played amazingly. I'd invite them back to anything, literally, be it from the winner to the first boot. And it also just made me helped me find a new appreciation for Big Brother games, which I had lost a while ago. And I think it hyped me, it hyped Nathan, it hyped most of the server up for a second season.
Oh yeah, for sure. But so I mean, you experienced it firsthand. What was like your like take going into that season? Because you were my like preseason favorite. Like I'd never heard of you, never seen of you, but I was like, this person is fully, like the interview questions, like you gotta, like I want to see what he can do. So
Yeah.
but
When a Big Brother, that was my 6th Big Brother I've done. The first 3 Big Brothers I did, I not only won, but I played 2 perfect games and 1 near perfect game. And then my 2 games after that, I did very poorly. And I was very down on myself. I was like, were those first 3 flukes? Do I still have it? And so when I wanted to play 1UP, I needed to find a good experience. I wanted to find someone that looked competent. And I saw your ad. It looked like, okay, this person has some passion going into it. And I saw the tag from the creator of Big Brother Universe, which I wasn't exactly sure what that was, but I had heard rumblings of it. So I was like, something's going on here. I'm interested. I applied, and I wanted to just prove I still had it, prove I could still be a good player in a community I hadn't been involved in yet, with new players, new people I haven't heard of. And so that was my goal going into it. And I would just like the experience was like almost perfect in my opinion. And like it's my first game I played where everyone showed their face. It was the first game I played where it was heavy VC, like a lot of VCs, like pretty much every single night. And that just like transformed the experience for me. Like I really got to know every single person. And I think that's what made it such a good game for me to get invested in, because everyone felt so real. It wasn't just icons on a screen. It just like added to the emotional investment into it, which just made every single week feel that much more important, that much more grand.
yeah.
And it was like, when you said it, it was just such a phenomenal cast. Every single person was interesting. Like, even if I didn't think they were great at the game, it was like I talked to this person. It's like, when else would I get to talk to someone like you? Like Alejandro, I remember talking to him. Unique character. It was like, this is just such a fun cast to play with, and I don't usually get that feeling. Like I've played games that are hosted well, but I think what season 1 proved was it really does come down to the cast. If it's a good cast that messages well, that's interesting. That's what's going to make the season memorable for both the players and the hosts, spectators, everyone involved. And season 1 really hit that. And even though I didn't win by the end, I felt like I had such a great experience with it, and I wouldn't change how anything happened.
Yeah, I mean that philosophy has stuck true since season 1, where it's it's all about building a cast. And, like we go into as we go into like season 4, the casting discussions are probably what take up most of our time preseason, because it is all about building each person should fulfill a certain role on any sort of given cast. I take a lot of pride in it. I put a lot of energy into it, just to I was like, each person needs to what are they going to do all together, as individuals, as duos, as trios, as a group, are they going to provide a good season? And that's why I always tell people, if you didn't get the cut, you just work a little bit harder. I promise, do a little bit more. There's potential in everybody, but it's all about how you show yourself to us, because that's what we based it off of. But yeah, no, I mean, here's season 1, phenomenal. Zach being the winner, I look back at cycle 1 of 1UP happening, and I was just like, there's not a chance in hell someone like Zach is going to win this season. They are pretty much one of the most boisterous, flamboyant, in your face, comp wins all the time kind of player. I was like, they are going to flame out. They're going to be cycle 5 boot. Someone's going to get rid of them. It's going to be the big move of the season. But Zach had a certain level of charisma to them that I think, people, even though they were in the biggest, I would say, like power position, people never really took this shot at the same time. That's also guided by the fact we had the Pretty Committee, where everyone was playing a different role within that alliance, the most dominant alliance still in One Up Big Brother history, Zach, Sol, Brie, but you base things off because like 1 week, like me, I might feel a certain way, being like, there's no way Zach is ever going to win this game. And then certain things fall in line for a Zach winner to happen. Zach being our, foundational princess of the series feels right. They are quintessential, like how they adapted, how they got to this place, and love Zach.
And I think I remember my thought process during season 1, because I remember talking with Nathan at the time. We were just going through the cast. We were like, how do we think they are after this first round?
I remember that.
And I think it was just, we were talking about the entire Kevin Cuban thing, which entertained us to all hell. Will after his HOH win, I think at the time I was like, no, I don't think Zach has a high win equity right now, just because Zach is coming off very strong and it's like very enjoyable to watch. I think the players are going to catch on very quickly. Then Zach wins cycle 2 HOH. Yep, I don't think Zach is winning anymore. Cycle 3 HOH. Yep, Zach is surely not winning anymore. Cycle 4 power veto, cycle 5 power veto. So I was like, great. Cycle 6 is the triple. Something is going to happen during this triple.
Yep.
The morning after, Zach was still in the game. So I had to do a rage check on myself because it was like, okay, what's happening? And sure, Zach still holds after 3 seasons the record of most competitions won tied with Sol and most HOHs won. Let me look at the wiki.
Are we
like if you include like the nightmare comps, I think hybrid. Like,
Zach, I forgot Lachlan. Zach, Sol, and Lachlan are tied for first in competition wins. Zach is first. Zach is first alone in HOH wins. There's that, but there's also just playing a game that at surface level you'd think, you're probably not going to win. People are going to clock Zach immediately. But the way that Zach related with people, the way that Zach talked with people, and not just Zach, the entire cast, it was like you could see that person was there to play, but somehow, in some way, every player still managed to convince one or two, in Zach's case, basically everybody, that they were still, was that nice, innocent little person with who you're going to benefit to keep in the game. And I remember, like, around cycle 9, cycle 10, I was like, wait, I need Zach to get to the end, because if Zach wins, for me to go from no in cycle 1 to wait, hold on, maybe. Amazing trajectory, but also just the rest of the cast. Because again, we talked about the Pretty Committee. It's rare that a 3-person alliance occupies the entirety of the top 3. If they do, something happened, and it's something so very good. And at the end of the day, Zach won the game. Zach won the money. Congrats. But this is true. Sol and Brie, I want to say, especially Sol, held their own. Sol, you won HOH 3 times. Every time you won HOH, you won POV that week. Already,
is that right? That sounds right. Yeah.
That is right. You've won 3 HOHs and 5 power vetoes.
Jesus Christ.
Every time, and also cycle 9 to cycle 12, always want a challenge. Yeah. And I think there's always that balance between, yes, I'm winning a lot of challenges, but I'm also doing a lot on a strategic and social level, which I can translate to a lot of people on the cast, which for obvious reasons, if you check on the wiki, this is a 5-star five-star season.
I'll interject. Here's the thing. I think Seoul probably wins this season. Seoul, I think, like halfway through, you started becoming your own worst enemy into the sense where it's like, I don't even care about winning, blah, 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 like all this. And like, I remember just being in your ear, like, shut the fuck up. You know, like, stop doing this. Like, this, like, kind of like, I don't know what's going on in your mind at this point because you have all this equity to win this game. And I feel like you were just, you know, and I think that was the most frustrating thing for me. I'm like, why are we giving up like right now? You know, like you have it, what it takes, you know?
It wasn't giving up because I don't think the game wasn't purely about winning. It was about, I just want to play a good game. And I was confident I could still play a good game, even if I lost. And I could also stay loyal to Zach and the Pretty Committee. Like that just became such an important mission. Like especially the point where I think it came fully solidified was during the endurance comp I won, where me, Zach, and Bree, we stayed on call for the entire like 12 hours overnight. Like that just like bonded us. It was from that point on, it was like, okay, I'm not turning on Zach.
Yeah.
Like I cannot say enough good things about Zach. Like they're such a fun, charismatic person. I think that was like both their biggest weapon and their biggest like setback. It's because they're so likable. Everyone wants them out, but that's also why they won by the end. It's because everyone told me you can't bring Zach to the end. They're this likable person. They're going to win. And I said, no, I'm going to stay loyal to Zach. I'll cut them at 3 if it gets to that point, but I'm not turning on them before then because, you know, we were just very close. And, you know, they did end up beating me in the final HOH fair and square, and they won, and I'm happy for them. Like, I can make the argument I played a stronger strategic game than they did because I'm not going to make this a negative thing, so I'm not going to get into the specifics.
No.
But, you know, Zach played a great game, and I was happy to lose to them. If I was going to lose, I wanted it to be to Zach pretty much more than anyone else besides maybe Brie, but we don't have to get her.
Yeah.
But yeah, season 1, it was Pretty Committee was just it's my favorite alliance I've ever been in. It's not really close. It just works so well, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Like I really do think it got the perfect ending. Like I think my story on the season was one destined to lose.
Yeah.
And I think Zach's really was one destined to win, if that makes sense.
I agree. Love season 1. I will always look back on that season fondly. But after season 1 came the origins of season 2, Synthwave. Season 2, I'm trying to remember how, like, I've always, like, here's the thing. Like, season 1 for me was like the kind of the baseline. Season 2, when I built kind of from the groundwork, it came from Big Brother Galaxy being a purple season. And I know that's so straightforward and boring, but season 6 of Big Brother Universe was probably my all-time favorite season I've ever hosted. I was like, you can't ever go wrong with a purple season. And so I think just like you go from like kind of this gaming thing into like a synthwave, which is also kind of this retro style, like aesthetic. I just wanted to play around with aesthetics at that point. I was like, how can I, like, this could be really cool. And I love the synthwave aesthetic of kind of like this, you know, sunset, kind of a little bit 8-bit still. And there was so much purple imagery within that graphic style as well. So it always starts with a graphic style. I hope people know that. Like, as a graphic designer, you know, I always go into a season like, how can I like make this really cool and graphically like enticing? So that's how Synthwave was born. That's when Soul got put on production. That's it. Right? I think the rest of production maintained the same. No, we had
Let me check.
Peyton got added.
Peyton got added.
Peyton was the wiki
Yes.
manager. Yeah,
official season 1 production. Official season 1 production was just Nathan as the host and me and Mario as production.
Yeah.
When season 2 happened, me and Mario got promoted to co-hosts, and then officially Peyton, Nas, Sol, and Gianna joined as production members in season 2.
Yes. So, period. But, you know, I mean, that's how season 2 came to be. It was just like, I really think this would be a cool aesthetic. And I think at that point in time, we had kind of established a little bit more credibility within the series itself after season 1. And I'd say season 2 was one of the craziest casting. I mean, we received the most applications for that season still to date. I think it comes in part with like this season took place in the summer. People have a little bit more free time. They wanted to play a game. Synthwave is fun. Here's the thing. I still to this day, like in many ways, Synthwave has a weird special place in my heart. I think it's got the strongest cast of One Up Big Brother to date. Sorry Season 1, sorry Season 3. I think you take everyone into consideration of Season 2, like that, it's just icons. And you know, do I like the way the season turned out? Kind of. You know, I think we had the strongest pre-jury. I was so excited. Like that pre-jury phase was so like exhilarating. But all trickles back down to the winner of the season being Pranoy. Pranoy ran this season like it was, you know, his dying wish. Like he was the big cloud that kind of skewed any sort of kind of, you know, what could happen to actually happen, because he controlled the narrative. Every single thing that occurred within that season was Pranoy. And I always say, like, it doesn't make the season a bad season by no means. I think everyone in the cast was still phenomenal. But in terms of dynamic shifts, in terms of what was to expect, you know, we pretty much knew what we were in for once jury hit. I was like, this is Pranoy's game to lose now, you know, and he proved me right. He got his big one, won the game, and I think he's probably the strongest One Up Big Brother winner to date. I think he's probably one of the best players I've ever seen play this game to whip, like, and I'm saying, like, since we've had some amazing casting choices, like we had some icons, legends, great strategic people, for him to like bamboozle these people who in most regards are some of the other strongest players in the community to that degree, it was a masterclass. It was the Pranoy masterclass, and I hope everyone can like see how he played as like a standard of like how one should play an org. That's my biggest takeaway from Synthwave, was it's Pranoy's game.
For Synthwave,
like for
I
was just gonna say, like, just to kind of carry off what Nathan said, like, it's not just that Pranoy ran the game; they ran the game against really good players. Like, you hear like people complaining about these boring seasons of reality TV, and they go, "Oh, they had just an easy cast. They had people who didn't know the game." Synthwave knew the game, and Pranoy still ran it like the Navy. I've truly never seen anything like it. But you can say what you want to know.
Well, for season 2, unfortunately, I had a bit of a lesser role because for basically the entirety of pre-jury and a bit of jury, I was stuck in the wonderful country of Russia, where we know Discord, it doesn't exist. So I had basically no way to help produce or keep up with the season. So Nathan was telling me here and there, oh, look, your recruit got second boot. Oh, look, this is happening. Oh, look, your recruit is running the game. I'm taking credit for Pranoy. I'm the reason Pranoy is here, everybody. But back to Pranoy, it's just from the get-go, from the cinematically produced intro video that Pranoy gave us,
which should have gotten him like red flags off the bat. When you have an intro video that is like so grandiose like that, like me as a player, I'm like, oh, he's got game. But it feels like he smooshed his way to like be like, oh no, whatever, you know, I'm just Pranoy.
I remember I made a not overproduced, over annoying video for Fallen Stars of Big Brother Universe. And Nathan telling me, great, Benito, amazing video after the season. Great, Benito, your intro video was amazing. Everybody was looking at you the wrong way after that video. And so I immediately, because I managed to leave like the day after cast reveal. So I managed to see a bit of the connections at the start. I managed to be involved with the casting. I got 2 of my recruits on the cast. And I was like, yeah, no, I have a mental image of how this season is going to go. I come back. The bathroom is on fire. Someone ate the pizza. Pranoy is stomping on everybody's feet. So I did not know what was happening. But it was truly enjoyable because I read up on some things. I read up also thanks to Soul's write-ups for the wiki. It was just this is an amazing cast full of some of the strongest players I've ever seen, especially in the jury, because the jury was chock full of people who, if you look at them at the start of the season, you would be like, yeah, anybody could win this. Anybody, any of these people could win this. But also the pre-jury, which was just when I read back up on it, it's like, yeah, like already on the pre-jury from the get-go. Because example, Oreo is my friend. Me and Oreo have met through CR. And Nathan texted me when I was in St. Petersburg, being like, yeah, no, Oreo was just evicted, but Oreo had one of the most amazing trajectories in the game. I was like, what do you mean he crashed out? What do you mean? So while I wasn't there to see it, it's truly an amazing season, chock full of amazing players. The only setback is that there was just God Almighty over everybody, destroying everything in his way.
Yeah, I mean,
just to talk about the Oreo situation. When I was out that day, and when I left to go do whatever I was doing that day, I thought Noah was leaving, and then I opened up Discord to 10 pings saying join VC. I look at the VC, it's full of like 30 people. I'm like, oh no, what happened? Or I heard Oreo blew up their game. I'm like, uh-oh. I was like, this is gonna be a season.
Yeah, and it was.
Because also, I didn't expect some of the people I knew to play the way they did. I didn't expect Oreo to blow up their game. I didn't expect Pernod to play even more God than I've usually seen him play. I also, of the people that I knew, I was like, I didn't expect this. And all the people that I didn't know and who I met through casting was like, you gave us a completely different overview of your game in casting. What the fuck is this? This is 10,000 times better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about Synthwave. I mean, I just remember it took place during the summer, so I had just started my job, and I would go on like I'd take a step away from my desk and go for a walk just so I could like listen in on these house calls and like be like into it. But I still to this day I think that pre-jury phase, like the dynamics of that, and it goes without saying, like, you know, although I think the house guests hated the Synthlink twist, it was one of my favorite twists I've ever run. I had such a hoot and holler building that, creating that, like making the video. Like I remember, you know, when Caitlin had hacked pretty much the entire system, being like, I know exactly who's with who, how we're gonna do this. And at that point, I hadn't had all the videos of like, oh, this Synthlink is with this Synthlink. And so I'd have to like take a step away from my desk and like literally make these videos on the spot and be like, okay, because another Synthlink got cracked, this one got cracked. I'm like, oh my God. And just like having fun with it. You know, by the end of it, I'm just like, you know, the videos are like, another one, really? Or some crazy thing. But I think the Synthlinks created such a really cool gameplay dynamic to work around. It's why we had people like Joshy leave the game as early as he did. And I really do stand by that. You know, it wasn't like a very simple duos twist. There was so much to work around with it. Whereas, like, you know, you don't walk in with this duo, you know, are you going to throw your duo under the bus? Who knows? And I think it allowed like the HOH a little bit more, like, I can do a lot of fun with this. You know, I could put 4 people on the block right now. But no, I really enjoyed Synthwave. I think the pre-jury, when that twist was going in, super fun. You know, to this day, do I still think it's a 2-star season? I don't know. I teeter here and there. You know, I just remember like halfway through Synthwave, like texting Soul, being like, make this season end. I want this season to end. You know, put me out of my misery. I'm so bored. You know, like there's no way these people are this stupid. Because the way that they were playing, I'm like, they are literally giving Pranoy a win. Like no one was like seeing through it. And I was like, there's no way. And I was like, I want this season to end. As a host, you're like, obviously, like, whatever. But I'm like, I want this season to end. But
No, but I remember also
Well, I'm a
looking back
defender
on
of season
Renoir.
2.
I mean, I am too. You know, I do love season 2, but like I just remember like in the moment, like I take my rose-colored lenses off now, where I'm like, it was a good season. I'm like, in the moment, I was like, oh my god, I fucking hate it.
In the moment, I think for a lot of seasons when you're bored, you're like, yeah, just end this, please. Put me out of my misery. But then when they end, we're gonna talk about season 3 in a while because I find that sentiment for season 3 as well. But when they end, or like when they're ending, like at the finale reunion, you're like, wait, hold on, this was actually a very nice season because then I had the chance to reread over Pranoy's chats with everybody. It was like, yes, these people are absolutely blind to whatever the fuck is happening, but is such an amazing talker, which is like maybe that's another factor of it. It's like it's a good season. Sure, everybody did not see what was happening for some reason. It they wouldn't know if we told them at that point. But at the end of the day, it was still a very satisfying season for, well, at least for me to see finish up after I came back from my vacation.
Yeah, I'm a defender of season 2. I think part of the reason maybe I enjoyed it more was because I would have these like diary room voice sessions with Pranoy, and I get to hear him fully layer out their strategy, and they list these specific plans, and then I watch those specific plans play out like near perfectly.
Yep.
And it was just as someone who's really into the strategy, I think watching Pranoy and like learning from them honestly just made that season a lot more like interesting to me to spectate and analyze. Like if Pranoy was like just a standard like person who runs the game, I wouldn't have had as much fun writing about it, as much fun watching it. So I think that's why I had a better time with it in real time. But I do agree, like the seasons almost always look better when you look back at them because you could see it as the full package. But yeah, season 2, I think it was a good season overall. I'd give it 3 stars, 3.5 to be honest with you.
I kind of agree with that. You know, I always go back and forth, you know. But, you know, as a direct result,
Cast, good pre-jury.
you say good jury? Like the
No,
jury is
pre-jury.
well,
I still think
pre-jury.
the jury has a couple good rounds. Like I think the final 3 was very interesting. I thought the final 7 was very good. That was the hands around, and then the
Yeah.
finale, and then like I thought Alicia's boot round was very intense. That really came down to the wire. Like
Yeah.
even though it kept going in the same trajectory, it was still a very intense round to see how everything would play out. But
Well, as a direct result of season 2, like as me being host, I was like, I was so frustrated. We pivoted with season 3, where, you know, season 3 to me was I wanted to return to form. I wanted to bring back a lot of people who I grew up playing with. I wanted kind of, you know, I wanted to like, because there was a little bit of burnout at the time. It wasn't terrible, but I was like, I want to see like people like in the past, like how they adapt like a modern age org. So I started reaching out to a lot of people who I played with back in like 2020, 2021. I was like, even before then, and like John, where we played back in even before then, being like, would you ever play an org again? Would you consider coming back for an org? And every single person was like, oh, sure. I was like, okay, great. I think we can build a season here. And, you know, the thematic of Dreamscape, I really have no idea what the hell is going on. Where I was like, I want cloud, sunset, whatever. I think actually, like, you know, Insider T, the initial concept of season 3 was going to be a very like disco movie. It was going to be really kind of like this disco-y kind of aesthetic, which is I think is really funny because Online Big Brother just recently did a disco season. I was like, you know what, let them take that, you know, after. But I think I settled on like, you know, we have like the synthwave, what's like a parallel to the synthwave, like a dreamscape, you know, this really, you know, a little bit more kind of aesthetic. But no, season 3 was a big recruit season for me because at that point it was me trying to find happiness after season 2 because I was at a weird place where I was like, I really didn't like that season. I want to see my old friends play again. Was that a good idea? Maybe. Here's the thing. Dreamscape in itself as a whole, I think we're going to look back at that season with kinder eyes. It is a shit show of a season. I will be very forefront with that. You know, we had a lot of, you know, old school player mentality on display, you know, which was I to expect? Sure. You know, I put these people all together to not expect this old school type of play, doxing, to occur. Maybe that's on me. But I was really ecstatic. You know, Blake is someone who I've been friends with in the community for years, 7 years. And I always called him my bad luck charm. I remember he wanted to apply to season 1 and 2, and both the season he's played of Big Brother Universe got canceled. I was like, wait a little bit longer. My bad luck charm. I was like, I don't want my season to get canceled, and it's going to be probably because of you. And I was like, and then Dreamscape came in, he wanted to apply, and then, you know, Lachlan applied, who I'd never hosted before. We've played a multitude of times back in the day, but I've never hosted him. Mackenzie was one of my closest friends back in the day, John as well. And, you know, Pat played in Big Brother Galaxy. Like, it was just a big hodgepodge of like my history all together. And we had obviously like the other slew of people who were, you know, equally as exciting, but like obviously like me being a host, I'm like, I want to see how these people do. How did one describe Dreamscape? I think it was a nasty cast. It got dirty. I think these people were, and whether they want to admit it or not, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Who knows? But like, these people play dirty. Like, and like there was like an overwhelming sense, and I can't, like, no one's like who played the season might understand, but like of just kind of gloom. Like, these people were, it was like a very mob mentality, very not nice group. And it's not like a villain thing. Like, I love a villain. Like, look at Dolan, icon. Love that kind of archetype. But like, it was just like really negative, and like, you know, you have like these likes of like, because it was a very villain forward season. I was like, I want to have so many villains, where it was like someone's bound to like excite me somewhere. And when you have a bunch of villains, they're going to do villainous things, and they did that. And but like, still, the end result was okay. The pre-jury phase, not great. The jury phase, I think, is where we kick it in. You go to that, I think it was the double or triple. The second double, triple.
Yeah. Well, the jury, it started with the John boot week,
correct,
which really kickstarted it. And then we went into, it really got going at the Pat round in the triple.
Yeah. And that's when like
it kind of really got going. But
yeah, that's when the season got really exciting for me. And I was like, okay, this is really exhilarating. And, you know, I still think it was a good season. Like, I you know, it's again, like Panino had mentioned earlier, it's like, it's not until you're like at the finale,
yeah,
and like you're away from all of it, where you're just sitting back and realizing like, okay, this season's coming to a close. I'm going to miss this, because I knew after Dreamscape, I was going to take a break. I was like, I want to kind of gather everything together, because Dreamscape in my eyes was never up to like my standards production value wise, even though like no one else would ever notice that. Like, who's playing in the season? Like, we did a lot of fun new things, but like, to me, I'm like, oh, I feel like I probably could have been a better host. I was beating myself up and like being like, oh, you know, I don't know. But
I think also the fact was, at a certain point, we were getting a bit discouraged with the season. Of course, having 2 expulsions doesn't help with production morale. So I think most of us were like, we need a break, because we don't think this was good on our end. But this was also just exhausting, nasty cast. And again, I've told this to some players' faces. I did not like the way that certain players played, both in a gameplay sense, both in a person sense. But they know this. For example, I know Joe back from my years in early 2020. Light Switch Joe for me was always the person who I always saw win, who I always saw do amazing. Start of the game, where is Joe? Middle of the game, where is Joe? But oh wait, even though
Let's talk about
he's
that.
not doing much,
That was the
till
biggest
end.
thing with the season. I felt like there was like a lack of like actual like energy put into it. I think there was like a clear discrepancy of like certain players were trying and certain players were just kind of happy to be there. I like a season where players, they're really trying all they humanly can. You have like we had like a nightmare blunt rotation of the final six. Like we had likes of like a JD, Mackenzie, Joe all in final six. I'm like, holy fuck, the season is like it's come down to this where these like, and no shade to either of them, but I'll do shade. They weren't trying, they were doing the bare minimum to get by. I mean, Joe at that time I think had like 2 strikes. Like he was 1 strikeout from being removed from the game at that time because of his inactivity and like whatever. It really came down to the strongest suits, which were like the Lachlan, Donica, and Blake. Like these 3 were the most intriguing house guests that we had. And they were, when Lachlan went gone in final 6, I was like, oh my God, we are so screwed. We are going to end up with like a Mackenzie, JD final 2. And this is how this story is going to end. Like this is going to be kind of like Luigi wins by doing nothing. Kind of like story arc, and luckily that changed. But
yeah,
we got
Donica. Yeah, the change. I just didn't expect Joe in final 2. At final 6, I was like, Joe's not getting to the final 2. If we're gonna have people who quote then try a lot in the final 2, it's gonna be Mackenzie and JD. So already Joe in the final 2 was like a surprise for me. It was also a surprise for me that Joe got votes. No shade to Joe, but again, you have a Blake, a Donica, and a Lachlan who are doing everything, and they're doing a lot. I told Lachlan I didn't like his game because it was a bit too rambunctious for me, but it got him to final 6. I can barely make final 6 nowadays. And then you have Joe, who again had 2 strikes, Mackenzie, who knows I was very critical.
Who was happy to be there,
Happy to be there, as much as a lamp is, but the furniture storyline came out, but Mackenzie knows I was very critical of their game, and they got Final 4 doing it because still it was not doing a lot, but still doing enough to make people so fucking pissed off at them. And I found this in recent years. It's the strategy of pissing people off so that their senses get off balance. They focus on the wrong things. If you tap into that emotional side of people and make them mad about something about you or about anything, you unstabilize them, making it easier for you to get them out. And it's something that I think a lot of this cast was trying. Mackenzie managed to do it with the fact that Mackenzie wasn't there for half the game. And a lot of people were like, where is Mackenzie? I know I would have fallen for that trap because if I would have been at the start of Jury with Mackenzie in it, I would have started to be like, why is Mackenzie still in? But still, that's still a strategy.
Yeah.
Well,
Nathan
I mean,
doesn't agree,
in Mackenzie's
but it
defense,
is
very self-aware. She is very self-aware of what her game was. So
yeah.
I personally don't find myself criticizing it a lot, which you obviously can, but it's not like she's like delusional. She knows what she did. She knows what she did to that season. So it's not like it's not like she's unaware. But the whole thing with JD, I think that was almost more of our mistake than his mistake. He's just not a good person for this series because he does NBC. Like he it's not like he wasn't trying. He just wasn't fit for this kind of format. And then Joe, I'm a defender of his game, but yeah, he definitely was a bit of a nothing burger at times. Even though I can defend his strategic game, I do think the things he did do, I was impressed by. There just wasn't a lot. But season 3, what I think truly makes a bad season is a season with like no identity. Season 3 definitely has an identity. Nathan said, "I want villains." We got villains. It was
a whole bunch
very
of them we
season,
had to
and I mean,
All
it's
villains.
just our rulebook.
For real. We did have
yeah.
But yeah, Blake puts it, the season's camp. And if you can lean into that, you can enjoy the season for what it is. And I do agree with that.
No, we had to rehash the entire rulebook. That's true, because we got so many fucking villains. So much that 2 of them had to leave because of reasons. But also, like, we've talked a lot about the jury for season 3. The pre-jury, even though there are faults with it, cough, cough, Dolan, cough, cough, we at One Up are now traumatized of furries, me included, even though I'm a furry. Listen, there's a reason I'm so critical of furries. This is it. But still, it still managed to give us that, start of game One Up Big Brother charm. Especially, I remember with Starla's eviction, who we love here. I miss Starla out of everybody from that cast. Such an iconic human being. But I do think that after the split house, that's when I was like, okay, now some fun things are gonna happen. Then the doxing happened, but still, the season did pick up. Well, the season did pick up in the sense that they became even more unhinged, especially at the triple, the Cycle 7 triple. And it was just after the expulsion, after the last expulsion that we had, it was like, now I want to see what happens. Now the game is gonna pick up. Implosion during the triple, and then we go up to the second triple, and then we realize, okay, the final 6 is Blake, Donica, and Lachlan, who are trying. Joe, Mackenzie, JD, the wardrobe, the lamp, and the bed.
The
No.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, yes, but no.
The Witch and the Wardrobe is foul.
Okay. I think the main takeaways from season 3, there's iconic things that occurred. There, I would say Dolan, his entity in himself. I would say Jensa, that alliance, dominant. It was a big crash and burn. It was like to expect that was going to blow up. I'd say Lachlan, the character, great. And I think for me, just being me, from Blake to have this big story arc where I'm like, please don't ever play in my series again after it got canceled, to being the winner of the game, that is such like a weird poetic thing for me. I'm like, you got canceled in 2 seasons and now you come back and you win. Like, that is so iconic. And Donica, wink, wink. Piggy
Donica, I think for Donica, like, I was sad that Donica got sniped in the final 3. I expected it, obviously, because, come on.
And Donica 100% wins if he's in final 2.
Who in their right mind would bring Donica to a final 2 after the sort of game that he played? Who in their right mind?
Donica's game was one of my favorites I've ever had to witness. I think
Donica, for me, was a source of the calm during the storm. Because it was like everybody else doing whatever the fuck is happening. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And then Donica being like, I'm playing a normal game. A very good normal game, but I'm playing a normal game. And I think that's why I, as a host, gravitated a lot towards Donica. And there's a reason that Donica basically got the favorite from all the hosts during the reunion. And it's just at the end of the day, we gave this season 2 stars. But as I said before, during the reunion, we were constantly, while doing the awards, we were like, maybe is it 3 stars? We don't know. I think for right now, you
maybe-
said it yourself.
Maybe synthwave.
You said it yourself, Nathan. You said it. Maybe this might be a
I think I'll
3 star.
always stand by Dreamscape being 2 stars. I think there's enough good, but not enough great.
No,
Synthwave-
yes, but
Synthwave,
I do
agree.
remember both of us saying during the finale reunion, maybe we'll think about it. We need to
Yeah.
metabolize it.
Yeah. If you see the season as camp, then it's camp. If you see it
Yeah,
for
I
the
know,
bad,
but-
then it's bad. If you see it for the good, it's good. It's one of those weird seasons.
Mhm.
And it was a weird season to like end off on. It was a good season to end off on. I was like, okay, I'm really content. And like so much so, I was like, I want to do a live season right after. I was like, I got bored. I was like, I want to do a live season. I've never done one before. I think it'd be fun. And I got, a weird hosting null of like, I miss hosting. Even though like I hated Dreamscape. So Yuletide happened. So I don't know. Dreamscape. But
Dreamscape.
I do want to real quick. I want to give Blake his flowers because we talked a lot about.
oh yeah, that's right. Let's talk about like
Exactly.
Blake's winners game because that was
Let's talk about Blake and not the lad of which
That's
is a
impressive.
wardrobe.
But Blake played a phenomenal game. He probably played the second best game in the series, in my opinion, behind Pernod.
Yep.
Just really close to a masterclass, but very, very, very good at just social positioning and just getting to people and not making enemies. Where people like John made enemies, people like Lachlan made enemies. He was on top, and he didn't really ruffle as many feathers. He was never really in any danger. It's like if you look at the power rankings, Pernod had times where they dipped because they made someone mad. Blake was at the top more than Pernod was.
Mhm.
This is so I really do think Blake played a phenomenal game.
No, I mean, knowing Blake as Blake, like I would have never expected. I mean, he was evicted early on when he played Big Brother Universe, was not in a great position when he played the second time around. Like his full circle moment really was on display here. Like he is the one I think who really just genuinely wanted to prove to himself, do whatever, and he did. For like maybe it was like a 6-year break where like it took him to like kind of like me. Like it's kind of like how I see myself. It's like, you hearken on a lot of the things that went wrong. You come back, maybe not a whole lot of people know you, and you succeed. So seeing Blake win, amazing. I love a Blake win. One of
And we
the
didn't expect it. We didn't expect it because we had made preseason's power rankings, and we were like middle of the road. Like
I had, initially I had Blake as a winner. I put him down at third. I was like, I don't see Blake. I don't see a Blake winning. I was like, in my wet dream, yeah, Blake wins. That'd be such a poetic thing. But I don't see him getting to that end. But he did. And,
I think like to end my thoughts on Blake's game and like just season 3 in general, it was a messy season. Blake had a very good trajectory, which we didn't expect. But as Sol said, apart from the first 4 weeks where John was at the top of the power rankings, and apart from the final 4 where we put Donica just slightly over Blake, every other week Blake was at the top of the power rankings. Not what we expected at all. And I remember Nathan throughout the entirety of the season being like, he was in both of my canceled seasons, and now this. So it was just unexpected, amazing gameplay, and I think throughout, at the end of the day, it was a season with amazing gameplay. Has a lot of faults, unfortunately, but I still look back on it fondly because it was still a season that gave us memorable moments.
I agree.
I'd say like season 1 was the season of the characters, season 2 was the season of the gamers, and season 3 was the season of the villains.
Yeah.
Just label
And
it.
also,
What's season
Lion,
4?
the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Welcome to IKEA, everybody.
What do we see season 4 as being?
Oh,
Season 4 is gonna be the season of the legends.
Yeah.
The legends Let's go with that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Obviously, we obviously can't say much, but I think because in the past few days we've been talking about something with someone who I don't think we can say who it is, but you will discover soon. And I think that just also helped us get a thought on, yeah, it's anything could happen, but there's a lot of legends on this cast. So I agree with what Soul said.
It's one of the most exciting casts that we've ever been.
You don't know what I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't think anybody knows what's gonna happen. There's a lot of things that could happen, and
We'll talk about it here in a minute. But
yeah,
as we season 4, your time's coming. As we rally in a year of One Up Big Brother, I want to know from Panino, Soul, I'll give my own first takes. Who do you believe to be the 5 most iconic players to have played in this series so far?
Urka. I'll start off. I'm not gonna make a ranking. I'm just gonna say the people who I believe. I'm gonna start off with season 2. Don't ask why. I think that's just gonna be easier for me to say. Pernoi, do we even need to talk about Pernoi more? Amazing gameplay. Again, here comes God Almighty breaking everything up. The kitchen is on fire. The pizza has been eaten, and Pernoi is stepping on everybody's toes. Another player who I really, really, really enjoyed that season was JCAF. It was just a gameplay that I've never done myself. I rarely see, and I really, really liked it. Let me do season 1 next. Yeah, no, for season 1, I think I have to say Zach and Soul. I think we had a packed final 2 with 2 amazing players who, between them, held a grand total of 18 comp points. Yes, 18 comp points throughout the entire season, which for me is an inconceivable concept, especially in a Big Brother. But also, again, as I said, their gameplays, different as they were absolutely amazing. And for season 3, I'm gonna say Donica, because as we've said before, just Donica was the calm during the storm for me. It was like everybody's kicking each other. Welcome to IKEA. We have all the furniture you would want. And Donica just was, here I am playing a very strong game without killing the host's mental sanity.
So I'd like to know, what are your top 5 most iconic players so far?
So I agree with pretty much everything Panino said. And to kind of give a bit of a different list, I'm going to try to give my top 5 focus on characters almost.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out season 1, Kevin. Massive character in season 1. We got the best rivalry. But, it's been a year. There's no more bitter feelings towards him on my end. He was such a force in that season that was just driving so much of the narratives throughout the entire time. Like, he's, to me, one of the most unforgettable presences throughout the 3 seasons.
Yeah.
In season 2, I have to go with Hansa. Hansa, another person, massive character. You can't really forget him when you think about season 2. It's like, I think of Pernoi, and then I think of Hansa, to be honest. And then season 3, Donica, again, we talked about, Panino mentioned them, but I also think, I agree, they're a great character. Lachlan, too. Massive, just villainous presence. And then I'm also going to say Alana. Alana, we'll talk about Utah next, but I think Alana is one of the biggest characters now in the franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I also, because we didn't really talk to him, I want to give a shout out to Luna. Luna, it was his first time playing Synthwave. Right. First time playing at Org in Synthwave, and he stood out to me as one of the best players in the franchise. So, shout out to Luna, but you can carry on.
This is hard for me. as a host, I've seen a multitude of different personalities over my career. If I were to go based off like what I think represents one up, like if I am like looking at like the series history so far in the last year, I look at season 1 and I have to say Cupid. Cupid is a one of a kind personality. Are they the best player? No. Do they represent what I see as like what One Up is, what season 1 was? They got main character for a reason, because in my mind, it was always all roads lead back to Cupid. And I see season 1 as being a Cupid season. I see Cupid being kind of like this one, like you think of like RuPaul's Drag Race. You have their first eliminated queen being Porkchop. Although James was eliminated first technically in season 1, Cupid has kind of had this mainstay in the series where somehow, some way, I think they will always be referenced, cross-referenced, even back down to Yuletide where they got first boot. Cupid to me, I think, is One Up Big Brother. And you go into season 2, obviously you gotta do Prinoy. They are the masterclass player. I to not put Prinoy on my list of most iconic would be blasphemy. What else? Season 3, Lachlan. Lachlan is the first one who comes to mind for me. They are your villain's villain. Very blunt, very dry, very a caricature of a player, but still super good at the game. Goodness. Soul, I mean, here's the thing, Soul, you were probably my favorite player I've ever hosted in my life. There was kind of this potential and like just like energy from you. It's why you're on production now. I loved who you were as a player. I loved kind of all your insight, your passion, dedication, and I think you represent season 1. No disrespect to Zach, who isn't on my list. I think Zach represents the season great, but if we're talking like iconic, you were like an anti-hero, the perfect antithesis of kind of that.
Yeah.
You were never a villain, but you were definitely never the hero ever. So, and I think you played one of the strongest strategic games that I've ever seen, maybe behind Prinoy. I got one more. Cupid, Prinoy, Lachlan, and Soul. Who's taking it? I don't know, dude. Let's go in and do Donica.
Do you want some time to think about it?
No,
it's
Donica. It's Donica.
Donica.
You know what? Let's like interchange. It's Donica or Onyx. When I do my host favorites, it comes from a reasoning of like genuine, I've never seen a player like this before. I love their energy. I love their presence. I love everything that they do. Onyx and Donica, maybe it's because they're both Irish. I don't know. But there's something about like the game they played, the person that they are, that intrigues me as a host. And I think they represent me, like that's the player I want to see. They're so fun. I love bullying them. If we're talking about my little piggly wigglies, it's them too. So they're conjoined.
And I want to go back and talk about Cupid because I forgot to do so when talking about season 1. Nathan, right after the first season of Big Brother Universe, so Big Bang, started treating little itsy bitsy 14-year-old Panino as a recurring character, both in that said season, both in the following seasons. And it was just, I now recognize the power that it had, that position has. The first boot, quotation mark, because in this case, Cupid wasn't technically the first boot. that still has an impact. Like, in Big Brother Universe, people were mentioning me 8 seasons later. So the impact that you had in that short time, it's recognized, and I do recognize the impact that Cupid had in the very short time that Cupid had on season one, where Cupid blew up the house. The entire Cupid and Kevin thing absolutely got me so hyped for the rest of the season, which absolutely also delivered. But the entire Cupid and Kevin thing was like, we just started. I need something to drink. And so, as an ex mascot of, Big Brother Universe, I think it's perfect that Cupid has this role, because Cupid is one of those players who is just, it's easy to talk about them.
And I say, like,
Even-
Cupid is very much a Panino for me. Panino's the first boot of the very first season.
yeah, that's what I just said.
That's exactly Cupid's role here. Like, they're iconic in that own sense, where they're going to be always cross-referenced.
Yeah, and also
Cupid
and
is so
also-
unapologetically. They're so unapologetically themselves.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Mhm.
Lachlan is, but like
Yeah, that's
the
what I wanted to
antithesis
say,
of
yeah.
that.
Yep.
And I think that's just what makes them so great
Mhm.
and memorable, because they're never gonna hunker down and hide themselves.
Yeah. Well, do we want to talk about Yuletide for like a brief stint?
Let's give Yuletide like its flowers for a moment.
Yuletide.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, Yuletide for me, like I mentioned earlier, it came because like after Dreamscape, I was like, oh, I'm done hosting for a little bit. I want to break. And then like you give it 2 months, I'm like, I'm bored. I really would love to do like a really quick one. Like I've never done a live game. I come from a more live centered, area. It's always where I succeeded. I would love to host one, like a very sequester style, because I was in the sequester community for quite a bit of time. And I was like, it would be so fun to just like do something like this. And that's how that came to be. I was like, and to me, in my eyes, one of my favorite seasons ever. I mean, we teeter on galaxy levels. I think it beats out season one to me at a personal level, because I had such a, like, I was really driving that season. Like I had such a passion to put that on. And I think everything that occurred within it was so good. I had so much fun. We got to see players who may not have been the first choice to come back for another season here, give another shot at it. And they, I think, for the most part, all improved. We had such a good cast of like first-time players as well, iconic players. So I don't know. I just had a really good time. Like I just remember like being in my room, Dana, my boyfriend, out over here in the living room, like listening in, like kind of like watching in, being like, what's going on right now? What's going on? You need to like shish. I'll suck your dick later.
Shout out to Dana. I think one of our biggest supporters.
Yes.
to this day.
Yes. He always roots for one person before he doesn't really get super in depth with it. Like I'll show him the cast, I'll give him like the rundown. He'll be like, I'm rooting for that person. But no.
I'm interested to see who's gonna root for season 4, but that's another discussion.
You already told me. So
Did he?
I have the answer. I can't reveal it.
Let us know later. Let me and Soul know later.
No, I will.
But no, for Yuletide, this was like the first season where I wasn't really involved with casting. I left it to the hands of Nathan and Soul a lot. I was not there for day one. I come in on day 2, right after pre-jury ended, where I see how many returnees were there. 4 amazing returnees who I was told played amazing games. 3 of which did Joanna make jury? No. Am I having a stroke? Yes, Joanna made jury. Okay, someone tells me no, someone tells me yes. Okay, Joanna made jury. 2 of which already made jury, already had amazing games. 2 of which didn't. 2 of which made pre-jury. Mikey, who was on 2 seasons, and Alana, who got sniped right at the end.
And Noah. and Cupid.
No, I'm talking about the jury.
Like, okay. Yeah.
But then, yes, also you have Noah, you have Cupid, you have the lamp, Mackenzie. So you have like an amazing cast of returnees. Added on, back to talking about jury, add on Michael Lee Rose and Chloe Kay, who played three abysmally different games, which entertained me to all hell. And even when they were in jury, I would like pop in and be like, "How's it going?" Chloe K would go off on someone. Every time I went in, Chloe K would be going off on someone different. And I think what like helped me love Yuletide was just, it was I'm saying messy, not because it was messy, because with the different twists each week, it was like, welcome to Big Brother Quester. You don't know what the hell is happening. And at a certain point, you're voting for this, but then someone completely different goes out. But I really love the live capacity of a lot of the people that played in Yuletide, because as I mentioned, since 2023, I've been one of the more major production members for Chaotic Reality. Again, the biggest custom format, one night custom format. And so for me, recently it's always been about someone who can have an impact in a short amount of time. Usually for me, it's shorter. Usually 5 hours, 6 hours. Here they had a bit more time because game started on the 11th, ended on the 13th. So in the town times we could text each other. But like the live capacity from all of them, all 12 of them, was astonishing, because it's indicative of a very good player when you're able to absolutely pick up the game from the start in such a short amount of time, and get yourself some allies, get yourself a strategy, get yourself positioning for jury for the end game. And I think Alana, I still consider Alana very robbed from season 3. And so for me to see the game that Alana played in Yuletide was just amazing. I was so happy for her. And then when she made the finale with Michael Lee, it was like, yeah, like Elijah is just helping Alana by taking out Rose at this point. Yeah. And but to give Michael Lee his flowers, who have had the joy to host again after Yuletide. Michael Lee played it's one of the games where I rarely see played. I wouldn't play that way ever in my life, just because I'm wired different. But at the end of the day, you can't criticize it too much, because Michael Lee made the final 2. So it's like you can absolutely criticize any game however much you want. But at the end of the day, you need to consider the placement that they got. Michael Lee got final 2. But the thing is, it's hard for me to even mention like notable characters, because I'd just be talking about all of them. Because also for me, it was a discovery of, again, Michael Lee, Rose, and Chloe Kay. Mikey playing a very good game.
You saw a lot more people like just come out of their shell in this format.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. Like you have
people who
are, like maybe not the most prominent, but when you're in this condensed format, like Joanna, Noah, you can name any of the returnees. They like got to showcase themselves in a different light, because it's all live. It is all like in your face. And I think that's what made it really cool. And it's like, I was really excited to bring back the returnees that I did. I'm like, maybe you didn't get your best, showing on your initial season. Let's see what you can do in this format. Completely different, not even Big Brother. And made me fall in love with these people all over again. Like, again, like I really want to shout out Noah, because Noah was the one where it was like, in a lot of our minds, like maybe not have been ever asked back for returning season. Fun person, big Swiftie, I relate. But having him kind of like show up, do his thing, do more, like showcase more of himself. I love that. I loved that as a host. I think he was, and Joanna as well. I want to shout out Joanna, where, you know, they were really fun hosting and showcased a lot. So, and I guess Alana as well, but she won. So she don't need too much. We talk every day. I don't need to smoosh her up too much.
Yuletide, it just encapsulates like One of Big Brother so well because it just has so much passion put into it. Like even if you want to say the gameplay wasn't so like intense, like it wasn't like a dirty season like Dreamscape was. Like it was just like a good time. It was people who love playing these games put into this game. It was just a fun 3 nights of hosting.
Yeah.
These characters and everything. It just worked out so well. And Atlanta winning was just such the cherry on top. Like I went in rooting for her. I didn't think she was gonna be able to pull it off. And we got closer and closer and closer. And then similar to like Zach, how you described Zach, it was like, I don't think Atlanta's ever gonna be able to actually win. And then she did.
Yeah.
It was just so, and it also about Yuletide, when I think about like the most iconic moments in One of Big Brother, or my favorite ones, I think what does come to my mind is like the finale, like the ending, like the send off, like listening to you talk about the season and you got very emotional talking about it. I
Yeah.
think that it shows how much passion this whole series has. And it was just, I love Yuletide. And I think the finale and everything shows that, shows the series very well.
I mean, it was a passion project, you know, like I'd always wanted to host one of those things and came to be. I don't know. I love this. You know, I wouldn't do this if I didn't.
There's so many orgs where it just feels so, it's like a factory, where this feels more like a fun factory, like actual passion is put into it.
Yeah.
And I think that showed a lot in Yuletide.
Well, speaking of passion, let's talk about season 4. So over the last 5 months, even more so, season 4 has been in production for quite a bit. So I was talking to Sol about this. Like the idea of season 4 came to be during season 2, which shows like how much time goes into like each season that we do. You know, I'm over here already like hyper analyzing what we're going to do for season 10. That's like how crazy this mind works. It's always in like a weird rhythm of like, what else can I do? Like what could be really fun? Season 4, like I was talking to Sol about, initially like it was ancient Japan, because One Up Big Brother, like I thought was going to kind of follow this roadscape of very gaming things, whatever. And Japan holds a lot of the most iconic gaming things. I was like, it'd be really cool to like really traverse there. Did not work that way. And a lot of the idea came with like a dragon. I was like, oh, you need to conquer a dragon. You need to slay a dragon. You need to do things for this dragon. This dragon is like this all encompassing being that you need to do stuff with. And it wasn't until like I was talking with production, like I always say, Sol, like you are like my middleman here. Like I throw out a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts, a lot of we could do this or that. And you kind of hone it into like one hodgepodge of like, this would be the good middle ground here. And that's really what Mythos was. Like this had been discussion for quite a bit. And I think we found a good middle ground of like, this is so good, so perfect of a twist, so perfect of like, you know, we're not straying away from the ancient Chinese, historic. That was the big thing with me. I wanted to like make it, still really real. And I think it's really cool. I love this twist. I love, I think we have a perfect cast to really go with it with the twist. And I'm really excited to see, like, because to me, this is like the biggest production that I think I have ever done hosting. You take a 5-month break, you have a lot of time to really hone in on what went wrong, and like I'm not saying like a whole lot of wrong goes on in this series, but you have a lot of time to re-hone in on your passions of like, this is what would make a really good season. I want to dedicate a lot of my own time into creating something that's really grandiose, which is what I try to do with every season. But like this season, like I think the budget, I always say like quote unquote budget, it's good budget. You know, I'm putting a lot of time and energy into the graphics, into like all like these little things that maybe one doesn't think of, and giving them an experience that's going to feel grandiose. So I don't know if anyone wants to talk about.
I
think I was just gonna say, like, when we in production for this season, the checklist for things that need to be done was very long. There is a lot of moving parts with this season, both with the twist and like everything. Like you really said it. Like production value, we one-upped the season a lot. In my opinion, I think we're gonna put on a great show. And I guess to just kind of tease the twist a bit, I think what's great about this twist is we're not really taking away from the game at all. We're not changing the base format. It's kind of just an addition. Like if we're gonna look at season 2, the Synthlings twist completely changed how the base format was kind of played. Season 3, we had the Cloud9 Coliseum, which also changed the format. This isn't really changing the format. It's just adding new pieces on the board for the players to play with. And you'll see when you play and when the season begins. But I just think there's a lot of things that go into it, and we're kind of trusting the players a lot to be good players and know how to work everything. We're putting a lot of trust in the players, really, because this isn't a simple twist. This is not a twist I'd throw at people who've never played an org before, to be completely honest. But I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a great time.
Yeah. And I think just from also to tease a bit of the casting, I'm not going to reveal anything, obviously. As Sol said, the cast needs to be of a certain caliber to understand this twist. And I do think we have that.
Oh, yeah.
Again, a lot of the twist things, a lot of the challenge things were worked on by Nathan and Sol. My focus was more on look at casting, look at how these people are as players and how they would interact with would-be players. And at the end of the day, I think we have created a cast that is, as Sol said, full of legends, and is going to take this twist, run with it in ways I don't think we could even imagine right now. Again, as I said, we were recently talking with someone about the cast, and what we got was just anything could happen. This cast is of high caliber, and I want to say something without spoiling anything. It's a cast that's going to keep us on our toes the entire time throughout the season. It's a cast that we're never going to be bored with, and it's a cast that is always going to keep us guessing what their next move is going to be.
Let's talk about the cast a little bit. You know, like as a production team, we usually do like production predictions where like, you know, we go analyze the cast. This has probably been the hardest to predict because there's so many people who have so many different strong suits in certain areas. To predict something like this, you know, like we're just standing at a standstill. We're like, what are you going to do? You know, super hard, you know, like this is probably one of my favorite casts, probably the favorite cast that I've ever built, that we've ever built. So many strong players who are so good at so many different things. And to see it all play out, that's what I'm most excited for. Because you can build a cast and you can expect what's to come. But like this is the one where the predictability factor is really unknown. Because it can go so many different ways. That's what I'm most excited about. And that's what makes me like, I've never been so excited for a season to begin other than like, I'm over in production chat talking to Sol or whatever. I'm just being like, I'm so excited. I want this season to start. You know, we have
Nathan is hyped. Put on
Nathan,
a show.
Everybody is hyped. Like the only thing that I want to happen right now
we're
is,
all hyped.
for it. I want the third to be yesterday. I want the
Yeah.
season to start yesterday. That's where I'm at right now.
you know what? Let's hone in on this factor, because in the terms of production value and stuff, like the one thing I wanted from season 1 of One Up Big Brother was to test out a whole lot of new different types of competitions. And I think when we have a 5-month gap period, which we did, we have a lot more time. Like, I always consider myself a competition planner. So much so that I see so many other orgs so graciously use the ideas that I built 7 years ago in their own orgs. You know what, whatever. But like, no, it's so freeing to like create new types of competitions. And I think One Up Big Brother 4 really hones in on like trying a whole bunch of new things out. And I think that's what makes it really fun. You know, will all these things stick? Will they all work out? Who knows? But creating these types of competitions, they're really fun. And the one thing I always say, and like I had a lot of people just be like, I don't know. It's like, we have so many different varieties of competitions that we do here. There's something for everybody. You're not going to get the same kind of competition twice in a row, let alone within an expanded period of time. Each player is going to succeed at certain different things. And I think that's how Big Brother should be. And I'm really excited to see how these competitions work out, how they play out. I think there's something for everyone here. And I think, you know, she's been churning for a little bit this season, and, you know, we've got a fun series ahead of us this year. You know, we've already started the discussions, like pretty much finalized a lot of season 5 outside of some minuscule things. Season 6, which is going to be our all-star season, that has been a discussion pretty much every single day from production standards for months. We talk about it every day, but like, how are we going to build a cast here? I'm just saying, like, we're saying this is going to be a fun year. And I, like, as a host, am super excited to see where this goes. And One Up Big Brother 4, I think, is going to be that girl. That girl.
I couldn't have said
It
better.
really, it can't be understated just how good the applications were. Like there were so many hard cuts.
Oh yeah.
We had such a hard time because casting is like a puzzle. It's not a perfect puzzle. You can't always find perfect fits because you can only understand so much from someone's application. But every time that we were like, no, maybe this other person is a better fit, but if we're doing that, we have to cut this person. I think there was always someone on production being, no, we need to know, especially me, because there's a lot of people I love. There's a lot of people who I really would have wanted to see on the season. So it was so hard because we were cutting so many good people. But at the end, I think we found an amazing cast. Anybody could win.
Yeah.
I see a world of very different worlds where every single player that we have cast could win the game.
100%. I think that's what makes this cast so exciting. Usually, you know, like I do a lot of like meme picks. Dolan.
Yes, we know you.
You know, you need to have like a little bit of like a good casting choice. This is like a season of winners and season of like people who genuinely want it. You know, and I think that comes with us growing as a series. You know, in season 1, I didn't expect a whole lot of high caliber. You know, we had around like 120 viewers during season 1. To expect a player to be like, oh, I'm going to give my full into like a season where there's nobody in it. We've grown so much over the last year where I think there's a little bit more high stakes here, you know, and I think that comes with time where people, they don't want to make a fool of themselves in maybe a more established series where there are a little bit more stakes. I saw that happen. I think Big Brother Galaxy, where that was the first season where we had like a decent amount of like viewers, members, whatever. Biggest application pool we'd ever seen. And people wanted it. They wanted a show to like the world what they could do. And I think this season is that season. We're not the biggest Big Brother org, but we have people who are genuinely wanting to make their mark on this series. And I think that's what makes this really exciting. Nobody's here just to fulfill a spot. They're here to win. And that's what's going to make Big Brother
I agree.
4
I agree with that. I absolutely agree
so
with that.
fun. That's all I have to say in regards to Big Brother 4.
All from me, just spectators expect an amazing season packed full of amazing twists and challenges, courtesy of Nathan and Sol. And I think, the number of house guests is public, the number of house guests is 18. So expect 18 amazing individuals who I'm sure will bring their all. And from the first boot to the winner are going to be absolutely iconic. And if they're not, I'm going to find them. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just echo everything those two just said. I'm expecting a great season, and I think it's gonna be really something special
Yeah,
to kick off 2026 on a really high note.
100%. I'm really excited. And even if it flops, I don't care. There's a lot of heart put into
We're gonna
this.
give it our all anyway.
Absolutely. We've had 5 months to meditate, and we're going to, even if whatever, we'll make it happen. But that's it. That's the One Down Podcast, episode 1. 1 full year of One Up Big Brother. Holy crap.
Wow.
Really fun walking down memory lane. To me, I'm a really nostalgic bitch, so I love doing this. It's crazy to see how much we've come since season 1. Like I was mentioning, we've grown so much. And like, to me, like, I've never cared about the member count, but I've always cared about, like, we've grown a lot. And I think that means a lot to a lot of people. So, 3 seasons, we've built a legacy. We've had 63 house guests, about to have 18 more enter the fray. What they will do, we will soon find out in about 3 days, give or take, a little bit less. I will see you all next week with a special guest who has not been decided yet, to discuss the first breakdown of season 4, because we will have our first evicted house guest. Thank you all for tuning into the One Down Podcast. It is me, Nathan, my co-host Panino and Sol. Until then, thank you very much. I'll see you next time. And get ready for One Up Big Brother season 4.
Woo!
Yup.